May 21st, 1940, near Arras. Captain Hugh Ells watches a column of just 16 Matilda II infantry tanks crawl forward at barely 15 miles per hour. They are outnumbered, outpaced, nearly unsupported. Ahead of them, elements of Erwin Rommel's 7th Panzer Division, part of a force that has already torn through Europe using the fastest, most coordinated armoured warfare the world has ever seen. The Matilda II weighs 25 tons, powered by twin diesel engines and armed with a 2-pounder gun that cannot fire high explosive shells. It has no air cover, no infantry screen, and barely enough numbers to matter. On paper, this is suicide. And yet, within hours, this slow, crude tank will do something no Allied weapon has managed so far. It will stop Blitzkrieg. 10 days earlier, Germany launched its invasion of Western Europe. Fast-moving armoured divisions bypassed strongpoints, shattered communications, and pushed the British Expeditionary Force toward the sea. The doctrine was simple: speed, coordination, shock. And it was working flawlessly. Allied tanks existed, but they were scattered, poorly coordinated, and often inferior in communication and mobility. Except for one. The Matilda II wasn't fast. It wasn't flexible. But it had one trait the Germans didn't account for: armour. Not just thick, exceptional for 1940. Up to 75mm on the front, at a time when most German anti-tank guns could barely penetrate half of that under ideal conditions. German crews had a nickname for their standard gun: the door knocker, because against the Matilda, that's all it did: knock and bounce off. British doctrine never intended for this tank to act alone. It was designed to move slowly alongside infantry, breaking defensive lines step by step. But at Arras, doctrine doesn't matter. Necessity does. Instead of supporting infantry, the Matildas lead the attack. No waiting, no coordination delays. They drive straight into the German flank, alone. At 14:30 hours, the counterattack begins. The Matildas advance across open ground in 2 columns. German units are caught mid-movement. Fuel trucks, artillery tractors, infantry columns still repositioning. Then, the first shells hit. German rounds slam into the Matilda's armour. Sparks flash, metal rings. No penetration. The tanks don't slow down. They keep moving. At 800 to 1,000 yards, their guns begin firing. High-velocity, armour-piercing rounds punch through German vehicles with precision. Trucks erupt into flames. Armoured cars are torn apart. Infantry scatter in confusion. Panic spreads. Reports flood back through German lines. Heavy enemy tanks, invulnerable to our guns. Even elite units begin to fall back. For the first time since the invasion began, German momentum falters. But momentum cuts both ways. Rommel reacts fast. Improvising under pressure, he orders 88mm anti-aircraft guns into a ground roll, massive weapons designed to strike aircraft at high altitude. Against tanks, they are devastating. Their shells slice through armour that nothing else can touch. One by one, the Matildas are hit. Some burn. Others fall silent where they stand. Without infantry support, German crews move in close. Without air cover, the tanks are exposed. Inside the Matildas, heat builds. Engines strain. Mechanical failures begin to take their toll. By nightfall, only a handful remain operational. The attack ends. But something far more important has already happened. The shock of Arras ripples through the German high command. Reports exaggerate what occurred, describing a much larger, more dangerous armoured breakthrough. Hitler hesitates. Then comes the order: advance, halt. German armoured divisions pause their push toward the coast. Just for a few days. But those days change everything. Because in that narrow window, over 330,000 Allied troops escape from Dunkirk. Soldiers who would have been captured. Soldiers who would fight again. Soldiers who would keep the war alive. All because a slow, heavily armoured tank disrupted the most advanced military strategy of its time. The Matilda II wasn't perfect. It was mechanically complex, underpowered, limited in firepower. It couldn't adapt. Its design left no room for stronger weapons later in the war. By 1942, it was already outclassed. But at Arras, perfection wasn't required. What mattered was surprise. Blitzkrieg depended on speed, coordination, and assumptions. The Matilda broke those assumptions. It was too slow to fear, too crude to respect, and too heavily armoured to stop. In a war defined by speed and innovation, it wasn't the fastest machine that changed history. It was the one that refused to break when it was supposed to. And for one decisive moment in 1940, a slow, outdated tank stopped the fastest army on Earth.